To do.
Yeah, a comparison of the Lamentations of Israel and Egypt. Yes. Okay, so if anyone cares to even pay attention, it doesn't even matter. It's probably just going to go over your head, like talking about some stuff. But it's also known as the Lamentations of Kakaperi Seneb. Exactly. It was written during the 18th dynasty. That would have been during the Middle Kingdom or Second Intermediate period of Egypt. It was written on this board that had string with stucco put on top of it that was used as a writing surface.
Wait, what is that? Okay, never mind.
And someone punched a hole in the little corner or the edge of it right over there so it could be hung on the wall. It talks about it's a man speaking with his heart, pleading with his heart. To give him advice of how to deal with suffering, and it's regarding the neglect of something called Ma'at, which is truth, balance, justice. It's very essential to Egyptian life. So there are two main parts of this. There's the recto and there's the verso. The recto is more so the man talking about what's going on in the kingdom, all the death that's going on, how everything has gone into chaos, into decline. And the second part, the verso, is him pleading with his heart. He's asking his heart what he can do because he doesn't know. He's just gotten to the point where he can't deal with anything. He talks about the lack of justice and the rise of evil in the temples. And how does he get rid of his suffering? How can he finally get past all of this? And he says to his heart, I understand that you don't care to listen at all. And you don't want to respond. You hate to listen to my speech, but I would, I still would like an answer. What do I do? Then, and it ends at that. It ends at him asking for help. And even though it ends on a finite part, it feels as if there should be an ending to it that doesn't exist. So we have the Lamentations of Jeremiah. It's attributed to Jeremiah mainly because of the idea of sorrow and the weeping that we experience in this. So that's
the weeping prophet.
Mm-hmm. It's written right after the fall of Jerusalem in 586. It could have been 585, perhaps. If it was Jeremiah, then he most likely would have seen Jerusalem and seen what happened to the city and seen the first-hand account of the destruction. He talks about the contemplation of man's sins, or he contemplates man's sins, I should say, and how that led to the destruction of Jerusalem. He describes some of the conditions where children are begging for food, men and women are being killed by the sword, and I don't know if it was referring to cannibalism, but mothers using their child for food. I don't know if that was them getting food for them or if they were actually eating them. Either way, bad.
Tough times.
So some parallels I saw. They both acknowledge a decay, a decadence, the decline of a city or of a kingdom, and both are the result of wickedness within that kingdom or city. For Egypt, it's the disobeying of Ma'at, whereas for Jerusalem, it was the disobeying of God and sinning against him. But both make a suggestion that there's going to be a better time in the future. For Egypt, it was more so that things couldn't get as bad. It was more so we've gone to the worst we can, and so we can't imagine that it could get any worse than this. Whereas for Jerusalem, things could only get better because there's a hope in God, because his compassions don't fail us. So those are the parallels I saw. Even though they're separated by about 600 to 700 years, perhaps, there are some pretty good parallels. Those are my references.
Thank you.